Then we have the big one, which is conditional formatting, because I know that's always fun to mess around with. So conditional formatting is when you're keying off on given reports. The one conditional format I put in was if last year's sales or current year sales is greater than last year's sales, I want to have this column flag as a green, or you might want to put a word in there or something like that. Whereas if last year's sales or current year sales is less than last year's sales, I want it to build out in the red. So when we do that, you'll actually be on the Home tab. Underneath the Styles section, you'll have a Conditional Formatting button. We'll click that. You'll have some default ones that are already built out. I guess I'm not really into the default, but you can work with the defaults. They're fairly easy. You got some icon sets that you can create and put little flags in there. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I like seeing what I'm building, so I'll use New Rule. So in New Rule, you have some generic ones. You've got to format all cells based on their value, format only cells that contain. So in this instance, you'll sell if the cell value contains equal to, not equal to, between, whatever, then you'll format the cell. For the one we're working with, I'm use a formula to determine which cells to format. We've went through formulas. It also reinforces the formula principles. So if you work with formulas a little bit more, you'll remember them quite well. So my formula is if let me click in here. So select that. If I want to put if B5 is less than C5, then that's my formula. That's it. I click the cell, put the less than sign, click the other cell. It builds the formula for the most part for you. Then your criteria is what format do you want to set? Well, if it's less than, that means my sales are less, so I want it to be a red. So I'll flag it as a red. I'll hit OK, OK again, and that's it. And it automatically formats on the fly. Well, I have a negative value now. I don't have a positive value. So if this number goes into 3100, well, I can do the same thing, and I can build another rule in that same cell that creates a positive value. It's the same process. Conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula to determine. So I want to know if B5 is greater than C5, then I'm going to format it in green. Gives me a positive feel that we're doing good in this region for sales. OK through it, and now it'll automatically format in green because the current sales is greater. If it's less, it'll go ahead and flip back to red. Once you build the conditional formatting rule, you're set. Now, what if they're equal? I want to have just a different color. Green's positive, red's a negative thing. Well, if it's the same, then I might want to bring a little attention to it. I don't want it to format in red because it's not a critical concern. I don't want it to format in green because it's not a really big positive that sales stayed the same. So I can create a third rule on that cell and say, if B5 equals C5, I'm just going to format it in yellow. I'm going to put brackets around this just in case. So now if I do 2800, it'll format in yellow. So now, yeah.
So you've got three rules on that one cell.
Right. So you
can create all three, or is it remembering that? How did it turn red when you changed that?
So it'll remember. So if I go in here and I go back to 2700, it'll turn red. Do 3100, it'll do green.
Because there's three formulas on that one cell.
On that one cell. So if you want to manage those formulas, if you're not for sure, because that's where I forgot I had formatted and had to remove the green one because I was messing around. So if I go back in here, you have this manage rules. So depending on what cell you have selected, it'll tell you all the rules that are applied to that cell. And then if you want, you can select the rule, hit edit rule, remove the rule. If you want to add new rules, that manage rules window will allow you to really really work with that cell quite a bit.
So you can then copy that one cell and
Yeah.
apply it to all the other cells?
Yep, if I copy this, paste it down here, it went positive, which might be wrong. 5,500. It didn't take the conditional formatting. Yeah, it did. Oh, you know what?
Change the data.
Yeah, what you'll end up wanting to do, because the formula string has got the $sign when you're building these out. If you're going to do the copy and paste, that's where we were talking about that $sign in the cell reference. I'll have to edit my rule. Let me go back here real quick. Let me undo this. So I'll go back here. I'll edit these rules. And you got to get rid of the $signs, because when we copy, it'll increment all these values. I'll quickly do this. Because by default on the conditional rules, it makes it a constant. So now, if I copy this, paste it, now it'll apply. So if I put 5,500, it'll go yellow. So it's just one thing that you got to look at. So when you're building out your conditional formatting, if you know you're going to copy it after you've built one format out, then just make sure those cell references don't have the $signs, because then it'll only reference back to the original cell you built it against. Sound good?